Think you can survive without clean water? The day might come sooner than you expect. Now, let's not sugarcoat it. We're living in an increasingly unpredictable world. The climate is changing at an unprecedented pace, bringing with it more frequent and severe droughts, floods, and storms. Our water systems, once thought to be resilient, are showing their vulnerabilities. But climate change is just the tip of the iceberg. We're also facing threats that, until recently, were the stuff of science fiction. Picture this: a group of hackers, half a world away, targeting our water treatment plants. With a few keystrokes, they could contaminate our water supply or shut it down completely. It's not a hypothetical scenario, it's a very real possibility in today's interconnected world. And let's not forget about economic instability. A sudden economic collapse could make clean water a luxury few can afford. When inflation soars, even basic necessities can become out of reach, and in such situations, bartering could become the new norm. Would you be ready to trade for something as fundamental as water? Then there are disease outbreaks. Remember the panic when the pandemic hit? Imagine that, but with waterborne pathogens. A single outbreak could render your water supply unsafe overnight. Now, I'm not saying all this to scare you, but to prepare you. These are real risks, and they're escalating. But here's the good news. We can prepare for them. We can learn advanced strategies for storing, filtering, and finding water. We can plan for the worst while hoping for the best. Because let's face it, basic survival skills won't cut it anymore. We need to think beyond just having a few gallons of water stashed away. We need to be ready for long-term disruptions, for scenarios where the grid goes down and the taps run dry. In the face of these risks, advanced water preparedness isn't just a good idea. It's a necessity. So buckle up, folks. This journey might be a little rough, but it's one we need to take. Because when it comes to water, it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving no matter what comes our way. Remember, your life may depend on it. Don't wait for disaster to strike. Start preparing now. Natural disasters aren't the only threats to our water supply. Now let's take a moment to consider some of the dangers lurking in the shadows. These are threats that might not be as obvious as a hurricane or an earthquake, but they're just as real and potentially just as devastating. Imagine a grid collapse scenario. The power goes out, and it doesn't come back on. No electricity means running water will soon stop. Suddenly, your taps are dry and your toilets don't flush. Your local water treatment plant is offline and there's no telling when it'll be back up and running. You're left with whatever water you've managed to store, and when that runs out, well, let's just say things can get pretty grim pretty quickly. But it's not just about the physical infrastructure. What about cyber attacks? In an increasingly digital world, hackers have more power than ever before. They could potentially target water treatment plants, disrupting the supply or contaminating the water. This isn't just a hypothetical scenario either. There have been real cases of hackers targeting infrastructure, including water systems. The impact of an economic collapse on water accessibility is another under-discussed factor. If the economy tanks, the cost of everything goes up, and that includes water. You might find yourself bartering for a bottle of H2O, or unable to afford the filtration systems you need to make your water safe to drink. And let's not forget about disease outbreaks. Waterborne pathogens are a serious risk, especially in a disaster scenario where sanitation might be compromised. A single contaminated water source can spread disease like wildfire, turning a difficult situation into a deadly one. The bottom line is this: water risks are real, and they're not just about whether it rains or shines. They're about the systems we rely on, the unseen threats we face, and the harsh realities of a world without clean, accessible water. So are you prepared to face these dangers lurking in the shadows? Stored water can be a lifeline when disaster strikes. But how much water do you really need? It's not just about drinking. You need to factor in cooking, hygiene, pets, and even medical emergencies. A good rule of thumb is 1 gallon per person per day, but it's safer to plan for more. Now, where do you put all that water? There are many long-term storage solutions available, each with its own pros and cons. Tank systems, for example, can hold a large volume but may be conspicuous. Buried cisterns are less visible but require substantial effort to install. Rainwater harvesting systems are a sustainable option, but they depend on regular rainfall and need proper filtration. Once you've stored your water, it's not a set and forget situation. Water rotation and preservation are crucial. Every 6 months, check your water for clarity and odor. If you're unsure, boil it, treat it with additives, or use UV light treatment. Oxygen absorbers can also help extend the shelf life of your water. But here's the thing, water is a valuable commodity, especially in a disaster scenario. Securing your water supply is just as important as storing it. Consider camouflaged containers that blend into their surroundings, or even decoy supplies to throw off potential thieves. If you're part of a community, it might be worth setting up agreements on water usage and protection. And let's not forget about hidden storage. This is where you stash some water in various places. So if one cache is discovered or depleted, you have backups. Think creatively. False walls, buried caches, even hidden in plain sight. Remember, a well-hidden cache of water can make the difference between survival and disaster. It's not just about having water, but keeping it. Because when the taps run dry and the stores are empty, that stash of water might just be your saving grace. When it comes to water, purity is paramount. Let's delve into the world of advanced filtration and purification methods. Think of it as a multi-layered defense against contaminants. The first line of defense could be a simple mesh filter, trapping larger debris. Then, a biofilter made from layers of sand, gravel, and activated charcoal can remove smaller particles and many harmful bacteria. For the final stage, a ceramic filter fitted with activated carbon can eliminate most remaining bacteria, viruses, and chemicals. But what if you're in a pinch and you don't have access to these materials? Well, that's where homemade filters come into play. A do-it-yourself sand filter, for example, can be made from a plastic bottle filled with layers of sand, cloth, and charcoal. It's not perfect, but it's certainly much better than drinking straight from a contaminated source. Now let's talk distillation. This process involves heating water until it evaporates, then capturing and condensing the steam back into liquid form. This method is very effective at removing heavy metals, salts, and other non-volatile contaminants. You can create a simple solar still using a plastic sheet, a container, and the power of the sun. Or, in a pinch, you could improvise with a pot, a lid, and a heat source. But how do you know if your water is safe to drink? That's where water quality testing comes in. There are DIY kits available that can test for a range of common contaminants. However, these kits are not infallible and they can't test for everything. So, when in doubt, it's always a good idea to send a sample to a professional lab for comprehensive testing. Finally, let's touch on extreme contamination scenarios. Whether it's radiation, heavy metals, or biological agents, there are advanced methods and specialized filters that can tackle these threats. Of course, these are last resort options, and prevention is always better than cure. With the right knowledge, even the most contaminated water can become a source of life. So, equip yourself with that knowledge and take your water preparedness to the next level. In the face of scarcity, resourcefulness is key. And when we're talking about water, this statement couldn't be more accurate. Let's dive into some strategies for finding water in the most desperate of times. Picture yourself in an urban setting. Civilization as we know it has taken a hit. But even in this grim scenario, water can be found if you know where to look. Hidden sources might include water heaters, toilet tanks, and even air conditioning units. Abandoned buildings could also harbor untapped water reserves. Collecting condensation from metal surfaces is another ingenious method. But remember, just because you found it doesn't mean it's safe to drink. Always purify. Now, let's shift gears and imagine you're in the wilderness. Nature has a way of providing if you're keen enough to understand her signs. Springs are a godsend, but they're not always easy to find. Look for plant indicators like willows, cottonwoods, and cattails. Animal trails can also lead to water sources, as all living creatures need water to survive. Again, don't forget to purify. But what if you're stranded on a desert island, surrounded by nothing but salt water? Enter desalination. With a little bit of ingenuity and a few basic tools, you can rig up a simple solar still to remove the salt from seawater. There are also emergency desalination kits on the market. But be warned, desalination is a slow process, and it's not 100% efficient. It's a last resort, not a long-term solution. Desperate times do indeed call for desperate measures, but these measures don't mean you should throw caution to the wind. No matter where you find your water, it's crucial to ensure it's safe before consumption. Filtration, purification, even boiling if you have the means, should always be a part of your water procurement process. Remember, desperation should never lead to recklessness. Always ensure your water is safe before consumption. With resourcefulness and a little bit of knowledge, Even the most desperate situations can become just another challenge to overcome. So stay prepared, stay vigilant, and most importantly, stay hydrated. Survival isn't just about getting through the day, it's about planning for the future. And when it comes to water, the long haul requires some serious thought. Let's begin with water-wise landscaping. The idea here is to minimize your water usage while maximizing its benefits. Choose drought-tolerant plants and use mulch to reduce evaporation. Incorporate rainwater collection systems in your garden design. This might be as simple as a barrel under your downspout or as complex as a water catchment landscape with swales and ponds. Next, let's talk about gray water recycling. Gray water is the wastewater from your sinks, showers, washing machine, and it can be reused for things like irrigation or flushing toilets. It's a way to squeeze every last drop out of your water supply. Remember to use only biodegradable soaps and detergents if you're going this route. Community preparedness is another essential component of long-term survival. Pooling resources, sharing skills, and spreading knowledge can make your whole community stronger and more resilient. Because in a disaster, you're not just an island, you're part of a network. And the stronger that network is, the better your chances are. Bartering and trading are age-old survival strategies. And in a world where water is scarce, your ability to find, filter, and store it could be worth its weight in gold, literally. So learn these skills, master them. They could be your ticket to essential goods and services in a post-collapse economy. Finally, let's talk about mental preparedness. Water scarcity can be stressful. It's a constant reminder of your vulnerability. But with the right mindset, you can adapt. You can stay calm under pressure. You can make rational decisions in the face of fear. And that's a survival skill as important as any other. With the right strategies, you can not only survive a water crisis, you can thrive. So start planning, start preparing, and take control of your water future. Because the world without clean water might be closer than you think. But with the right preparations, you'll be ready. Water is life. And preparation, that's power. We've journeyed through the reality of escalating water risks, from the looming threats of climate change and cyber attacks, to the stark implications of economic collapse. We've pulled back the curtain on the bigger picture, showing you that water preparedness is about so much more than just surviving a natural disaster. We've opened your eyes to the art of advanced water storage, encouraging you to calculate your real needs and explore long-term solutions. We've highlighted the importance of water rotation, preservation, and security, all while revealing the potential for hidden storage. We've taken filtration and purification to the next level, introducing you to multi-stage filtration, DIY filters, and distilling methods. We've discussed the necessity of testing water quality and dealing with extreme contamination, arming you with the knowledge to protect yourself and your loved ones. We've shared strategies for finding water in desperate times, whether you're in an urban setting or the wilderness, and even touched on the limitations and possibilities of desalination. And finally, we've considered how to prepare for the long haul, from water-wise landscaping and gray water recycling to community preparedness and bartering. We've emphasized the mental preparedness needed to adapt to scarcity and remain calm under pressure. Now, it's over to you. This information is power, but only if you use it. Build a comprehensive water plan. Dig deeper into this topic. We recommend books such as The Prepper's Water Survival Guide by Daisy Luther and websites like the Prepper Journal. Consider taking a course or joining a local preppers group to share resources, skills, and knowledge. Remember to subscribe to our channel for more survival strategies, and share this video with your fellow preppers. We'd also love to hear from you in the comments. What's your water plan? What strategies are you using? Don't wait for disaster to strike. Start preparing now. Your life may depend on it.